And hello and good morning. Hey, it's Boles.tv, BOLES.tv, and I'm the David in the David Bowles. Well, some days you start, and then you just start doing this with your hair. Pull it right out of your head.
And hello and good morning.
Oh, here we go.
Hey.
It's not stopped yet.
It's Boles.tv.
It's that kind of day.
BOLES.tv. And
Yes.
I'm the David in the David Bowles.
That's my iPhone, by the
some
way.
days you start-
Turn it down. Turn it off. It's been one of those days so far. I feel great. Not a bad day, just a weird day. Whew. So you start a stream, and you try to let it run for like 15 minutes before you start your stream, because you want to make sure that your bit rate is right, which is how fast a connection you have to the server that is broadcasting your show. You want to see if you're dropping any frames. You want to see what your CPU usage is. It should be around 30%, 10%, 20%, anything over that. You can say, oh, there's trouble that's going to be brewing. We're going to be glitching soon. So usually I start this stream like 8:45, go live at 9 a.m., boom, here we are. Great show. But sometimes we have learned over the last couple of weeks that if you start stuttering, glitching, or as some of us say in the business, twitching, which is where like Matrix, deja vu, where you see the cat and the cat's not there, there's the cat. That's what glitching is on a live stream. And so I'm, getting ready to go live, and I notice that I have all these warnings from slobs, all these red notifications saying you've dropped 24% of your frames, which is terrible. Your bitrate speed is 1,000. And we have our software set for 6,000. So 1,000 is like really bad. I think you can hear them vacuuming in the hallway. It's a good microphone we have here. It picks up everything, everywhere, all the time. What can I do about it? Turn down the microphone. Now you can't hear them. You can't hear the vacuum, you can't hear me. Turn up the microphone. We can hear them vacuuming in the hallway. So we try to find the happy middle. So you look at it and you say, okay, if I start the stream like that, 1,000 bit rate up, we're going to be glitching, and people are going to be commenting, saying, you're frozen, you're glitching, I can't see you, and you're going to have to stop and restart, and then you have part 1 and part 2 of the show, which is terrible. Because people don't usually watch 2 parts of a show. They just want to watch one, hit click, and go. So I made the executive decision to stop the stream after 7 minutes, even though we were just running our opening credits. And not shut down, which is what I usually do. I prefer to shut everything down, turn the power off. But I said, let's just do a restart, which is a little bit faster. So we restarted the entire machine, waited for everything to load, which takes a very long time, even though we have a fast computer. And now it seems we're okay. Our bit rate is currently 6,300. We have dropped 0 frames since we began broadcasting 17 minutes ago. Our frames per second is 60, outstanding. Our CPU usage is 38, which usually drops once we get going. I don't know why it's usually high in the beginning, but we want to watch it steadily drop into the ether of understanding. So that's my morning so far. Forgot to turn down my iPhone so you can hear me talking to you off screen. A little weird, but at least we know it's working. So what's news today? What else is going on? Well, 263 years ago in 1759, this lovely man was born. His name, officially, is Robert Burns. Not Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. This is Robert Burns, the poet laureate of Scotland. And his friends all called him Rabbie, R-A-B-B-I-E, so we're going to call him Rabbie. Rabbie Burns, born today. Wrote Auld Lang Syne, lots of poems. I'll share a poem with you in a moment. This is his beautiful home, if you can imagine that. Look at that roof. So gorgeous. Birthplace of Rabbie Burns, Alloway, Scotland. Fantastic. And there's another picture of the young man. Just a little bit about him. National poet of Scotland, wrote lyrics, songs in Scots and in English. He was also famous for his amours, his loves, and his rebellion against Orthodox religion and morality. Now, can you be moral and not have religion? Yes. Can you be religious without morality? No. So I'll give you a little link in chat. Rabbie Burns. From Encyclopedia Britannica. And it's free. You can go search their website and get good stuff. I grew up with Encyclopedia Britannica. I love it. I think it's wonderful. And I don't know if they subscribe. What do they charge to subscribe to that? What do you get? Because you can get free stuff. I don't know how much it costs if you want to buy a subscription. Oh my, look at this. An annual price is 74 smackers. Not terrible. I don't know what you get. Maybe you get help with your homework or something. Premium membership, no ads. Okay, that's big. Games and puzzles, nobody cares. 100,000 fact-check articles. Roundups of trending topics. Images and podcast videos. Okay, that's boring. Nobody needs that. A family bundle is Britannica Premium Plus for kids. Okay, but I guess you can get a lot for free too. Here's our poem of the day from birthday boy Rabbie Burns, turning 263 years young today. January 25th. One of his most famous poems. A red, red rose. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. I should be reading this with my Scottish accent. I have my Irish accent down pretty well, but my Scottish, let's see, Scottish is Scotty from Star Trek. I can't make it go any faster, Captain. So fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my dear, till all the seas gang dry. Till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun, I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands o' life shall run. And fare thee well, me only love, and fare thee well a while, and I will come again, my love, thought it were 10,000 mile. Though it were 10,000 mile. And scene. Okay, that's fun, right? Little poem, little birthday spirit. Rabbie Burns. Have a little Scottish whiskey to choke down the day. Well, you'll want to choke some of this down if you're a hungry vegan like me. This is big news. PepsiCo, which is different than Pepsi, Sody Pop. PepsiCo is the big company that owns all the brands. And Beyond Meat, remember, two big players in fake meat. The two big new players are Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat. And then there are others who've been here forever, Light Life, Gardein. But boy, oh boy, this is fascinating news. They are making a Beyond Meat jerky Plant-based, slow roasted, and kettle cooked. Looks like jerky, doesn't it? Now, hardcore vegans say, oh, this is repulsive. I don't want this because it's trying to taste like meat and I'm above that. It's not for you. This is for people who are mainstream meat eaters who we are trying to convert to a healthier way of life for their sake and for the animals' sake. And if this kind of product helps them transition from eating dead bodies into eating something healthy, then so be it. PepsiCo and Beyond Meat are launching vegan jerky. Blogger Amber Christie inadvertently leaked the new product in a video shared to YouTube. On purpose, probably. Where she described the Beyond Meat times PepsiCo vegan jerky as good and very close to beef. According to the packaging picture of the video, Beyond Jerky is plant-based, slow-roasted, kettle-cooked, almost like the chips that are kettle-cooked. Featuring 10 grams of plant protein per serving with no GMOs, no soy, and no gluten. Each pack contains 85 grams of plant-based jerky, while closely resembles the traditional snack. And then Beyond Meat came out and said, okay, here we are. PepsiCo, we're joining forces to collaborate on the vegan jerky. So that's wonderful. I don't know when it's going to come out. Oh, here it is. Expected in early 22, which probably means November. We hope earlier, but we know business. Hey, speaking of fun, and speaking of vegan eats, remember your Krispy Kreme donuts. Fudge Brownie Bliss, Apple Custard Crumble, Caramel Chocolat Delight. Now, I didn't know Krispy Kreme came in different flavors. I thought they just came in glazed, hot out of the oven, period end. Now I know. I don't know if these are sold in stores or if these are sold in Krispy Kreme stores only. I don't know, but you can tell by the top of the packaging, I'm vegan. And if I remember right, I believe all Krispy Kreme donuts are vegan. Excuse me, it's 9 o'clock. My neighbor is hotboxing me, along with the vacuuming in the hallway. But I'm glad they vacuum in the hallway. The hallway gets very dirty. A lot of dogs, people, mess, muck. More good news. Pret a Manger's new vegan meatball wrap. Now, some people say Pret a Manger, Mangege. When you're from Nebraska, you say Pret a Manager. Okay? That's just how it goes. So just call it Pret to fit in. Pret's new vegan meatball wrap is a first for its 42 U.S. stores. Now, isn't that delightful? I find this just wonderful. Pret has some pretty good food. Sometimes you can get it vegan. Sometimes they'll even make something for you vegan if you ask them nicely at the front desk. After successfully rolling out the vegan meatball wrap at its UK locations, Pret USA is bringing its plant-based meat option to its U.S. menus. Click the link in our bio for more information. I accept. Now, here's something that's very interesting. And my music has disappeared. Where is my music? Oh, there it is, coming back. The research team had 10 healthy subjects between the ages of 24 and 33 record smartphone video of themselves performing 5 tasks often assigned to neurology patients during motor function assessments. So that means you go into the doctor's office, you think there's something wrong with your brain, the doctor will have you raise your arm, tilt it this way, tilt it that way, raise your arm, tilt it this way, tilt it that way, and kind of see if you can move your arms and your neck and your head. Open and close your hand. Can you make a fist on command? How fast can you do it? Can you open your hand faster? Can you close it slower? These are the tests that doctors do. So now they're trying to do this test, this motor skills test, via iPhones and smartphones instead of having to go into a doctor's office. And it gets recorded, and you can do it from home where you're comfortable and safe, and send it to your doctor, and your doctor can evaluate it. It's a special app. So these motor function assessments are finger taps, hand closures, toe taps, heel taps, and hand rotations. The subject performed each task at 4 different speeds in this app. Their movements were tracked using a freely available human pose estimation algorithm and then fed into the team's software for further evaluation. The results showed that across all 5 tasks, the software evaluating the movements accurately detected more than 96% of the movements detected by the manual inspection method. These results held up across several variables, including location, type of smartphone used, and method of recording. Some subjects placed their smartphone on a stable surface and just hit record, while others had a family member or a friend hold the device. So that means there's variance and variables in the recording, and it was still okay. The software was still able to do analysis and send it to the doctor, and the doctor was able to read it. It's a wonderful story. This is a good story where technology rides to the rescue. And here's the article about human movement. Video quantification of human movement. If you want to read more, it's now in chat. Now here's a very interesting piece about LinkedIn profiles. If you're not on LinkedIn and you're a business person, you should be on LinkedIn because it's owned by Microsoft and everybody's on there, and it's become better over the years, especially if you're looking for work or if you're looking for workers. So your profile pic, which is more business oriented usually, it's headshots of people. They did some research on it and what kind of headshot works best for a LinkedIn profile. And here's the result. 71% of recruiters admit they rejected a candidate because their LinkedIn profile, at least once, they didn't like how you looked. They thought you were being silly. They didn't like the cartoon version of you from your NFT that you purchased. 96% surveyed believe a professional LinkedIn picture profile inspires confidence. Okay, makes sense. These are business people. These are not fun people. These are hardcore business people looking to hire you if you fit in or not. And for looks matter. First impressions matter. And your first impression on LinkedIn is your profile picture. Nobody reads your text. They're looking at your eyes. 87% of LinkedIn recruiters consider the professionalism of a profile picture a critical ranking factor. So rethink your silly LinkedIn profile. You can be silly on Twitter and Facebook, but not on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is all about business. Coming and going and making connections. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn and you're not trying to sell me something, please find me. My username is Moles, B-O-L-E-S, Moles, on the LinkedIn. Let's see, where is my LinkedIn phone? Let's see if I can bring it up. LinkedIn, there it is. We'll see if my profile picture passes the test. Slowly we load, slowly to deceive. It's okay. I like it. For what I do, that's me. They look at that, oh, he's not wearing a suit, he's not in a tie. I'm not a 9-to-5 suit tie kind of guy. So for recruiters looking, do we want him working for our big company based out of Singapore? The answer is probably no. I could do it, but you know how they think. They want you to fit in. They're judging your profile picture. So here's my LinkedIn page. Now in chat. Go click on it. Click on connect or whatever they do now. I guess they do follows. Now some people don't want to connect. They just want you to follow. I prefer following instead of connecting with a person. I have 11,000 connections. Followers, whatever. Plus 500 connections. I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, I'll do it. Just find me. As long as you're not trying to spam me or bother my day, I'll do it. Now here's another really interesting article about male gel contraception, which, believe me, will be as dead as the male fertility pill, whatever the pill is that stops your sperm from procreating. It messes with a man's virility. Now, some men will get a vasectomy because that can be reversed. And because their wives make them do it. Or because they want to protect their money. But most men, I don't think they're going to use a gel. But here's what's going on. Currently, heterosexual men who wish to minimize their and their partner's risk of pregnancy have limited options. They can either use a condom, which no man likes, withdrawal method, which does not work. When I was growing up, they called that the Catholic method, the rhythm method, which didn't work. Knew a lot of Catholics who got pregnant on the rhythm method. They can undergo a vasectomy, or they can just not do the sex. This new gel, developed, could help expand their choices in safe sex. The gel contains 2 hormones. The first is a synthetic progesterone, which blocks natural testosterone production in the testes and reduces sperm production. The second, a replacement testosterone, helps maintain sex drive and other natural functions dependent on the hormone. The gel is applied to the man's shoulders. And its effects are reversible, which is quite wonderful. It means you put it on, boom. It's not forever. In addition to assessing the effectiveness of the gel in preventing pregnancy, the researchers will also track how diligent men are at applying the gel daily. Yeah, right. As well as evaluating its acceptance as a contraceptive method. Once the study begins, men will be asked to apply the gel once a day. We'll see. Because it can take 4 to 6 months for the contraceptive gel to fully take effect. Now see, the Viagra pill, you take that, a little bit, it's up. 4 to 6 hours, done. No man's going to wait 6 months to have sex on a gel. Couples will be required to use other forms of contraception during that time. After the man's sperm count falls enough to prevent pregnancy, the couples will use the gel as their only form of birth control for 12 months. This is the study. This is not real life. This is how they're studying the effectiveness of the gel. Throughout the study, researchers will monitor each man's sperm count and testosterone levels. I wonder if that includes a prostate exam. I don't know, maybe. After 1 year, the men will stop using the contraceptive gel and the study team will monitor their sperm count for at least 4 months or until it returns to a normal range because you're not repressing it with the gel. Couples who participate in the full 2-year study may receive up to $3,490 in compensation, not $3,500, because that would be too perfect a number. It's only going to be $3,490. $10 for a tip somewhere. And there's a dirty joke in there somewhere about just the tip, but I'm not going to make it. And on that lovely note, my friend, it's time for us to take our first blood pressure break of the day. I'll see you in a moment. And we are back from break. This is Bowls.tv. I'm David Bowles. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, right here with you. Jana Marie Sweeney, Saturdays and Sundays at 11 a.m. I talk about the human condition. She talks about deafness and disability and helping people better their lives. Well, it's been a long time since we've done this. So we're going to have a little fun today because we started so creepily and unwarily. Yes, it's that time again. It's time for Not Bobby Fischer Chess Live. Every once in a while, right here on Bowls.tv. Yes, David Bowles tries to play against chess and chess computers and fails. He does his best, he tries, but he's an ugly, ugly monster of a man. He married a beauty, and he is the beast in the Beauty and the Beast marriage. As he's fond of saying, every marriage can only have one saint, and in his marriage, he is not the saint. And on that note, this is Chessable. This is my chess trainer. It is giving me a hard time about rooks and pawns. You gotta find the checkmate. I will be playing white in this next scenario, vignette, if you will. And this is a little bit of a harder one because it's 4 moves that I have to move. And when I play by myself offline, I'm much better than when I play here with you online, which is probably why I don't play here online very much. And this is timed, so I will do as much speaking as I can without ruining my chances to win the puzzle. Here we go. Okay, the puzzle is there. I have to checkmate the black king. Where do I move? Who am I moving to? Now remember, these puzzles specifically love a queen sacrifice right off. Sometimes I like to sacrifice her second or third instead of first, and the puzzle people say, "No, sir, young man. You sacrifice your queen first." So I believe that's what I'm going to have to do here, is move my queen from here to here, put the king in check, protected by my knight, but then taken by the rook. And then what do? This is where I get lost. I don't know. But now I got to make a move because I'm running out of time. So I'm going to make that move. It was the right move. Now I have to figure out what my next move is. And all I really have is this rook down here at the bottom. But I do have an interesting pawn here. So now I got to figure out what to do. I could take the rook with the knight, and then the king would take, and then I could go here and put the king in check, but then the king would just take. Remember, these are rook solutions, so it's got to be something with a rook. So I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna move this. Oh. Ah, see, I never would have moved the knight there. So I moved the knight there, which puts the king in immediate check again. Very smart. So they're gonna make me do it right now. So I click next. I have to make the right move. This is my training. And then I have to move, and now I know what to move. See, now it's a rook move. Now go down here, and it's bing bong. Game over. Well, almost. Now I have to actually take. That's the 4th move. Okay, so 4 moves, accuracy 75%. I got 120 stars. Not great. I'm not dancing, but I'm not really weeping, which for me is unique and trend-setting. So I'm going to try again. One more puzzle. This is 3 moves instead of 4, so this should be technically easier for me. But of course, that means nothing. Remember, they love a queen sacrifice. And that's what this is looking like to me again. And it's looking like my queen here has to go down here. And and then be taken by the king. And then, well, it can't because be in check. Well, that's interesting. But there's also a knight here somewhere. Put a knight here. Put the king in check. Takes. Oh, that's interesting too. I'm tempted to go with the knight. That was the right move. That's very interesting to me. So you helped me. I was looking at all of my options. I would have gone queen. So now what? Well, Davy. Well, this is even more confusing because I really wanted to use my queen instead of my knight. I'm running out of time. I wonder if it's a rook move from here to there? Is that possible? It doesn't put anybody in check though. They really like a king in check. But I gotta do something. I did not move fast enough. And that's the move. Okay, so they want the queen sacrifice, so I have to move my queen this way and have it taken my pawn, which I really don't like. Now I have one more move to make. Now that's interesting. And I guess it would be the rook down. It's the only thing that makes sense. Yeah, that was awful too. But that's okay. We're not going to play another one, but now we're going to do the puzzle of the day on chess.com. January 25th puzzle. White to move. Does it have a title? Oh, here's the title. Explosive development. Oh. That concerns me because I don't really know what it means. Explosive doesn't sound good. And I'm white to move. Okay, so I'm white to move. Explosive development. These are longer puzzles, and there's no time. So we have all day to play this together. If we dare. Well, I would say move this pawn here. I don't know if that's right. I'll try it. Nope, not right. Explosive development. But I could move this knight here. If I dare. No. Now I'm just getting into guessing. Give me a hint. Oh boy. That would have taken me a long time. Okay, so it's a pawn move. And I guess I move it up. And then take. No. What's wrong with you? You don't take. Oh boy. Now this? No. This is not going well. Aha. I didn't even say it out loud because I didn't think it was going to work. It was going to get put right back down. So it was a bishop move to threaten the queen, and now they are threatening my queen. So I need to move. Where do I move? I would move here. No. What's the hint? Oh, they want me to take the queen. That's interesting. Okay. Oh. Because it was in check. Okay, that's why. And now I go here. No, I don't go there. Now I go here. No, I don't go there. Now I gotta now get this. Oh, okay, that's the game. Oh, that was just terrible. 11 days in a row. I glad they don't hold it against me. A little bit of misery going on, but not terrible, I suppose. Well, we talked about effectiveness on LinkedIn of your profile. What's going on with Instagram? Well, here we go. We are increasingly able to determine whether images included in social media messages are likely to garner interest from consumers. But a lot of the variables that we know affect public interest have little to do with the images themselves. For example, a brand's strength and the number of followers it has on Instagram is the strongest predictor of whether consumers will engage with an image. The text accompanying an image is also important. We wanted to look at the whole role the actual image plays, focusing specifically on how the complexity of an image drives consumer engagement. This is an important information for the marketing community because it can inform decisions about what sort of images to use to continue building a brand. So this is hardcore business research in Instagram. This is not posting pictures of your family. This is, I guess, influencers and brands. Previous work, found these two aspects of an image that people respond to: feature complexity and design complexity. Okay, interesting. Essentially, feature complexity refers to fundamental characteristics, such as color and brightness, of the image on Instagram. This is very specific technical stuff. Designing complexity refers to the actual things found in an image and how they are arranged. To begin the analysis of how viewers respond to an image, a complex image, researchers identified 6 measures that can be used to assess various aspects of image complexity. Distribution of color in the image. Distribution of luminance in the image, how bright things are in the image. Number of edges within the image, fascinating. Number of objects in the image. Regularity of objects, which is determined by whether objects share an orientation and the extent to which they overlap, and how symmetrical the arrangement of objects really is. So that is a lot to take in if you're trying to build a career on Instagram. Your own brand, a commercial brand. These are things that people look at without realizing this is how they're evaluating your image. The researchers then wrote a computer program to scan images on Instagram and automatically generate scores for each of those 6 measures we just discussed. The researchers also ran a validation experiment to ensure that image assessment program was consistent with how humans perceive complexity in images and not how a robot eye interprets what it's seeing. Researchers then created a model to determine which combination of measures was most closely associated with generating likes on Instagram. The model accounted for confounding variables, such as the number of followers a given Instagram feed has. So it's followers versus likes. For the study, the researchers fed almost 150,000 Instagram images and related data into their model. We found that all 6 measures are important, but there were particular patterns in which images generated the most positive feedback. When it comes to feature complexity, researchers found that there is a sweet spot right in the middle. Consumers on Instagram looking at images, preferred images with some diversity of light and color. But not too much and not too little. The opposite is true for design complexity. People preferred images that were either very simple or very complex. In practical terms, they found you could improve the number of likes of any given Instagram image by about 3% if you applied the appropriate filter to address issues related to feature complexity. That's nothing to sneeze at, particularly since applying a filter only takes a few seconds. What's more, the model suggests that optimizing both feature and design complexity could improve consumer engagement by about 19%, after accounting for variables such as accounts' total number of followers. So if you're looking for hardcore data, if you want some really professional advice on how to scientifically improve your Instagram feed, here you go. I'll put the link in chat. Fascinating information. And it's all for you. And now, my friend, it's blood pressure break time. I will see you in a moment. And we are back. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv. B-O-L-E-S, period, T, and a V. And I'm spelling it out for our friends who are watching via closed captions, because when I say my name, it closed captions my name with a W. There is no W in Bowles. And I can't correct it. It just does it. So we're here every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. trying to figure out the human condition. And one topic that has fascinated me all of my life is this idea of eugenics. This idea of finding the better person, the uncanny valley, pro-choice, pro-life, pro-person. Now, it's very interesting to me that there are very conservative religious people who are against 100% eugenics, which is that in itself wonderful, but also very limited when you listen to what they're talking about. Because pro-life people often are not pro-people people. Because if you were pro-people, just not pro-fetus, pro-baby, pro-infant, people would not be suffering because of economic need or disability. They would be provided appropriate assistance. And many of the states are not providing assistance once a person reaches the age of adulthood. You're on your own. That's the American way. Pro-life, not pro-person. And as we've discussed on this live stream before in the past, a lot of those people now are, believe it or not, moving to Utah. And they're not getting help from the state of Utah because the state of Utah refuses to help poor indigent people, not pro-people. However, the Mormon Church is based in Salt Lake City, in Utah. The Church of Latter-day Saints, as they prefer to be called. And they have a very robust food bank. You join the church, you become a part of the church, part of the family, and your bishop or stake master, whatever they call them, stake seed neighborhood person, may in fact help you and give you food and money to survive. And in Utah, the biggest provider of public welfare, of taking care of poor people, pro-people people, is, excuse me, the Mormon Church. It is not the state of Utah. So that's very telling. And in many ways, the Church of Latter-day Saints is putting their money where their beliefs are. And they are doing their best to help people. And people are moving to the state of Utah to get that help. So Mike Pence, former vice president under the Donald, gave a speech, pro-life speech, anti-birth control, protection against conception, claiming that birth control is eugenics. And I understand that argument, but I don't think that it is textually and conceptually appropriate. Because eugenics is really about disability, and eugenics is about race. It's not really about unborn babies who aren't born because their mother took a contraceptive pill. I don't get that leap. I guess the idea is that any baby that is prevented from being born is eugenics. I believe that's the general thinking. And I admit it confuses me. It doesn't make sense. The Catholic Church is also very... excuse me, my neighbor is hotboxing me. Take a sip of my Jana Marie. In the merch store. Bowlesby/merch. Bowlesby.com. The Catholic Church is anti-eugenics. And so we're going to see over the space of a few minutes, we're going to talk about this. The wide variety of how the idea of eugenics is being employed against and for people and causes. and a lot of invoking of Hitler, although it extends far beyond the reaches of Mein Führer, or Herr Führer, whatever the Führer. So here's the Catholic Church Commission talking about the Rockefeller Commission, talking about poor people and choice and Roe versus Wade. The Rockefeller Commission was also wrong, the Catholic Church says, when it contended that with the increasing availability of contraceptives and improvements in contraceptive technology, the need for abortion will diminish. The Catholic Church's point of view is, we now know that following Roe versus Wade, both contraceptive use and abortion rates increased dramatically, according to the Catholic Church. If there is one demographic segment of the population that the Rockefeller Commission believed was a problem, it was African Americans. The Rockefeller report said that if blacks could have the number of children they want and no more, their fertility and that of the majority white population would be very similar. The goal could not be more plain. Get blacks to stop reproducing. What they need, the report said, was greater access to various means of fertility control. Excuse me. So now the Catholic Church is tying in contraceptive and abortion to the Rockefeller Commission in the 70s, that contraception focused on the black community is eugenics. Some of the commission's members cited Planned Parenthood's efforts to meet this goal. Mission accomplished. It was reported in 2020 that Planned Parenthood locates 86% of its abortion clinics in or near minority neighborhoods. Though blacks are 13% of the population, they account for 1/3 of all abortions. So that is from the Catholic League. Now, that article does not go on to explain that the reason that Planned Parenthood appears in urban and low-income areas is because they're not served by regular doctors and hospitals. They go where the need is. They go where the people need help. And if people are having trouble with contraception and getting pregnant more often than they would like, where are they supposed to go? Well, in these cities, they go to Planned Parenthood and they get help. And the Catholic League is against that. They believe that is eugenics. So now we go backward in time. The Catholic League is talking today, Mike Pence talking today. This is the Mexican Revolution. And what happened shortly after the Mexican Revolution? The country's leader believed the best way to create a healthy, young generation in Mexico was through campaigns and efforts to minimize disability. In their eyes, disability, both physical and intellectual, was the effect of unhygienic living conditions or poor parenting. Minimize the cause, they figured, and the effect is ultimately reduced. What does that mean? In Mexico's case, the approach to people living with disabilities in the early part of the 20th century aligned with the country's overarching goal of eugenics. The promotion of desired characteristics in order to improve future generations. Mexico's version of eugenics wasn't as harsh as those adopted by other countries. For example, there were no sterilization programs for people with disabilities such as conducted in Nazi Germany, or the United States in the 1930s and 40s. Mexico's government still believed disability could be minimized. So disabled people are considered broken people by the political and medical communities. In the Mexican archives, it was discovered that a great deal of scrutiny was paid to children, including anthropometric measurements of their bodies, lung capacity, height, weight, as well as their IQs. It's very closely tied to notions of race and racialization. There's a sense in which the ideal Mexican population is mestizo, a mix of indigenous and European ancestry coming together to forge a new and powerful race. And so, part of those measurements and interest in gradually purging the nation of unwanted differences coincide with that racial imperative. The use of IQ tests, along with anthropometric testing, meant that school children were labeled as retrasados, or delayed, and placed in different groups or sent to special schools. Terminology such as idiots, imbeciles, and feeble-minded was used. Large sectors of the population were classified as abnormal because of their socioeconomic status, disability, or appearance. In some cases, the families of children with disabilities received public welfare. But many of them were kept in institutions against their will. Some children, either because of disabilities, behavior, or socioeconomic status, were sent to farm schools where they were expected to work to partially subsidize their cost of living. One of the conclusions from the research is that eugenics, as a way of thinking, doesn't really end in the 1940s. Many of these ways of thinking about what constitutes a healthy child or a normal person continue and are permitted and perpetuated in totally different ways today. So that's Mexico. Now we turn to the great state of California for a whole new box of eugenics surprises from the past. As the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund explained in a supportive statement, between 1909 and 1979, 70 years, California law directed the administrators of state institutions to forcibly sterilize individuals whom they deemed unfit for reproduction. California administered the nation's most aggressive sterilization program. The forced sterilization program evolved from a then popular eugenics movement that tried to improve the human race by limiting reproduction from mentally disabled people, poor people, and minorities. That thinking obviously was a stain on American society, but it emanated from the progressive movement and its fixation on using government for an uplift. So we move from 1979 to 2022 with this interesting and yet completely frightening news. Mr. Rath's biotechnology class at East Greenwich High School had students giving a chance to do an experiment using CRISPR in a laboratory. Great opportunity, right? first in the state for a high school. CRISPR stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Palindromic Repeats. The name may not roll easily off the tongue, but it has been in the news a lot lately because CRISPR is a revolutionary gene editing tool. In basic terms, the process involves using the Cas9 enzyme to cut DNA at a specific location and then adding or deleting segments of DNA before joining the two segments back together again. Although there have been other gene editing technologies, none have been as easy, accurate, and precise as CRISPR. The technology offers promise and could potentially be a game changer in terms of biomedical research, the treatment of various diseases and disorders, and maybe even the cure of certain genetic disorders such as Huntington's disease and cystic fibrosis. So doesn't that sound great? Hey, revolutionary Mexico. What if they had CRISPR? Hey, state of California, 1909, next 70 years. Don't have to sterilize people, we'll just start CRISPRing them from birth. We'll alter the DNA of fetuses to edit out the traits and the disabilities that we don't like. Gene splicing is the wave of the future. Now, is that eugenics? Excuse me, is the Catholic League going to come out against CRISPR because it's eugenics? Will Mike Pence be giving a speech about CRISPR killing people? Well, it's not killing them, it's just improving them. So maybe they'll be in favor of this CRISPR, of changing the DNA of people. But if you believe if God made you, if God put the soul in man, humankind, womankind, did not God also create the DNA strain? If God didn't want disabled people, why are they here? Who created them, if not for our fearless leader? So this gene splicing thing with CRISPR stuff is and they're doing it in high school. Soon you'll have black market 7 and 8-year-olds online saying, hey, you want the perfect baby? Send me $1 and I'll cut your DNA for you and send it back to you. I'll do it over the internet in a file. How far away are we from that? And we'll all look perfect, and we'll all look the same, and we'll all have the same standard of beauty and intelligence. No one will be able to be smarter than the other, because we'll all be splicing our genes to get the DNA that we want, and not the DNA that we have. And now we have the conclusion, in a very odd and pensive way, of bringing this conversation around to the illogical conclusion of eugenics and gene splicing into more creative ways to kill people. The great state of Alabama plans to finalize its protocol for executing death row inmates by nitrogen suffocation. Just give them a few months and they'll be right there. An execution using the nitrogen method, involves replacing oxygen needed to breathe with nitrogen gas. A gas chamber. And it's never been carried out in the United States. The use of nitrogen suffocation was approved by the Alabama legislature in 2018, with those on death row able to opt into an execution using the method. Oklahoma and Mississippi are the only other states to allow the practice of nitrogen gas to kill you. State-sponsored murder. The revelation regarding the timing of nitrogen suffocation executions came in the case of Matthew Reeves, a condemned inmate who says state prison officials violated his rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Reeves argued in federal court that the Alabama Department of Corrections was required by law, but did not provide him help to understand the form that could have allowed him to choose death by nitrogen suffocation. Earlier this month, a federal judge said Reeves's argument was substantially likely to succeed in court and issued an order blocking his execution, which was scheduled for 2 days from now. So he's saying he wanted to maybe opt into this, but because he is perhaps not able to understand reading or writing, or he's illiterate or some other thing, he is disabled, and the court did not help him understand his options. In a 37-page opinion, U.S. District Court Judge Austin Huffaker noted that prison officials were on notice that Reeves had IQ scores in the high 60s or low 70s, sub-average intellectual functioning, and had been found to be functionally illiterate a mere 2 months before it handed him the election form if he wanted to die via nitrogen gas or not, and expected him to comprehend and utilize it without accommodation. Accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The state of Alabama has appealed that decision, saying the order by Huffaker, a Trump appointee, was clearly erroneous, and that the court had abused its discretion in ruling that death row inmate Matthew Reeves's disability and need for accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act were open and obvious. And that is the insanity of it all, my friend. Pro-life, not pro-person. Well, here's some guy on death row that doesn't understand the easy ways to kill him, and so we have to do a do-over. Well, what if we had CRISPR when he was born, and then Alabama wouldn't have to worry about executing him because he doesn't understand anything? And what if he was born in Mexico? We'd never even see him because he would have been taken care of. Or if he was in California, he would have been sterilized, and then he wouldn't be able to reproduce this criminal mind and this ineptitude to read a simple piece of paper. The eugenics bubble is a big circle, a Mobius strip that goes around and around and around, and where it lands, nobody knows. And we're going into unfirm, undetermined territory, and the risk to life and health and the future of a world population is very real and very damaging, and we need to stop and ask, where are we going and where have we come from? And now we will take our final break of the day. Back in just a moment. We are back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv, BOLES.tv. Monday through Fridays, 9 a.m. Eastern, here talking about the human condition. Fridays around 10:15, Jana Marie shows up here to give you a hardcore ASL lesson. A formal lesson in American Sign Language. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, she has her very own show. Hardcore ASL with Jana, 11 a.m. Eastern. And she talks about disability and answers questions and teaches you stuff about living a better and more vibrant life. Well, here on Bowles TV in the past, we have discussed the generational problem of alcoholism and the American Indian. And one thing we have referenced is this wonderful, fantastic story that the University of Nebraska-Lincoln wrote called The Wounds of White Clay. I'll put the link in the chat. And it's a wonderful analysis of white clay and Nebraska's shameful legacy. The official population of white clay Nebraska is 12, but thanks to a lucrative liquor trade that's heavily dependent on customers from the neighboring alcohol-free Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, there are many more lives at stake in this unincorporated border town. So I urge you to read that if you want more information about this. But here is the latest hardcore research about drinking and alcoholism. Although rates of alcohol use among American Indians vary widely, overall, the population experiences disproportionate alcohol-related harm. American Indian adolescents who drink alcohol tend to start drinking early, and many drink heavily. To address health disparities, there is a need to identify risk and protective factors for alcohol use among this population. Depression is also a known risk factor for drinking among adolescents in the general population. But despite American Indian adolescents having higher rates of depression, there is a lack of research on the link between depression and drinking specific to this population. So they've done a lot of research into this. And what they found is sort of sad and depressive in its own way. Statistical analysis of the data showed that depressive symptoms were associated with greater alcohol use. Additionally, between 7th and 12th graders who lived on or near a reservation, greater family warmth, as perceived by the young person, not the adults, was associated with both lower depressive symptom scores and lower alcohol use, supporting previous findings that families are a key source of strength and resilience for American Indian adolescents. Hierarchy matters, the family matters, history matters. These links were further moderated by parental monitoring, such that the association between family warmth, being liked, loved, feeling belonging by the child, and lower drinking was stronger at high versus low levels of monitoring. That suggests that family warmth and parental monitoring both reflect important components of family functioning. Parental monitoring may increase the positive effects of family warmth or offset the negative alcohol effects of low family warmth. Now, it seems easy, doesn't it? Love your kids, pay attention to them, and maybe they won't be depressed and then be driven to drink if you're an American Indian. And we know it's not that easy. But it could be. These findings have important implications for treatment and prevention. For instance, there may be a role for supporting parents with strategies to communicate warmth and monitor their kids, particularly within the context of intergenerational trauma, resulting from forced residential schooling and adoption in the American Indian population. Prevention and treatment programs targeting youth, depression, and drinking may also benefit from family inclusion. Further, American Indian adolescents presenting for treatment as a result of alcohol use should be assessed for depression, and vice versa, given that each increases the risk of the other. Future research should also investigate whether interventions for adolescent depression and alcohol use may have a reciprocal positive impact. So that's the Indian reservation. Fighting this alcoholism, fighting the depression, fighting for inclusion in the family, fighting for their place in the ritual. And then there's another really interesting related story about alcohol. There are called low responders and high responders, okay? People who can hold their liquor, people who pass out after one sip, and especially growing up, even adults. Oh, you're a lightweight. You can't handle your liquor. I can drink 12 beers to your 1 beer. And that makes me more manly than you? That makes me a better person than you? That's the thinking in the street, as they say. Well, what does the research say? Low responders, of which I am one, I admit. I think it's because of my blood pressure medication, which really, if I have a little drink of alcohol, boy, I'm slammed. Whereas other people I know can drink and drink and drink and are not affected whatsoever. Low responders who drink more alcohol before feeling affected by it are at greater risk of alcohol use disorder. I'm the opposite. I guess I'm a high responder. Low responders to the alcohol. Okay, that's what it is, right? So low responders, people who drink a lot of alcohol, people who do not have a big response to alcohol. Their body has a low response, so they have to drink more to get drunk. That's the idea. Low responders who drink more alcohol before feeling affected by it are at greater risk of alcohol use disorder, AUD, than high responders. I think that's very confusing. High responder, low responder. I feel like I am a low responder to alcohol because my response is very fast, but I guess that makes me a high responder. Okay, don't argue with the science. Scientists using functional magnetic resonance imaging, MRIs, are exploring the possibility that low responders, people who drink a lot of alcohol, are less able to recognize certain modest sensory inputs because of atypical brain connectivity. Previous studies found that low responders are likely to require greater effort than high responders to identify facial emotions, a task that is key to social and emotional functioning. For the new study, researchers at the University of California, San Diego showed pictures of happy, angry, fearful faces to study participants undergoing these brain scans, MRIs. They examined connectivity between the amygdala and a structure involved in the processing of emotions and reward, and other brain regions, and whether differences between low and high responders were associated with problematic drinking later. Results showed differences in functional connectivity between the brains of low and high responders during emotional processing tasks. Low response participants observing pictures of angry faces after both alcoholic and placebo drinks had diminished amygdala connectivity with the cortical regions of the brain compared to their high response peers. In addition, low responders' functional connectivity when viewing angry and happy faces declined after drinking alcohol, while high responders' connectivity increased. Fearful faces did not reveal similarly divergent responses, suggesting that distinct emotional experiences trigger specific biological processes. 2 regional brain differences observed in low responders after the placebo beverage were associated with increased alcohol problems 5 years later. So what that means is people who drink a lot are not able to read the room, and so they maybe become loud and confrontational, and they don't sense the danger that they're ticking off other people in the room or that they're making other people angry because they don't care. High responders who drink a little bit of alcohol and then get in big trouble are more able to see the fear surrounding them and the danger in the room, and to then excuse themselves and stay out of trouble. The findings suggest that people with low responses to alcohol may have aberrant functional connectivity in certain brain circuits. These differences in their neurobiological processing could impair their performance in certain cognitive tasks, such as driving, such as interpreting facial expressions, as well as their ability to recognize their own intoxication. The rewarding aspects of alcohol in social situations. The investigators cautioned that the study results may not apply to everyone, and called for further research of MRI findings as predictors of future drinking problems. And that is a problem. What are you going to do? You're out there, you're drinking, you think you're okay? Oh, I'm a low tolerance drinker, so I can drink a lot. I don't read the faces in the room. I drive my car. And you've seen the videos of people who get pulled over by the police and they're indignant and they don't read the face of the officer who's not happy with them. And so they lie and they try to run away or drive away. And people who have a high response to alcohol probably don't get in the car in the first place because they know they've been drinking and they can read the room and say, oh boy, there's danger here. I got to get out, but I got to walk home. I cannot drive my car. And then you go back into the generational tribal unions of young 7 to 12 greater American Indians who want to fit in and feel loved and feel warmth. And when they don't, they get depressed and they drink. Which bowls us backward, BOWLS, into eugenics and CRISPRs, and all the fear that comes with that kind of experimentation. Pro-life? No. Pro-person? Never. These are the conundrums surrounding a human life that we fight and reckon with every single day. And we try to unravel them before scrambling them all up again here on Bowls.tv. Well, we're at the end of our time together. I thank you so much for being here. I appreciate being with you. I appreciate you tuning in. I will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. In the meantime, you can send me some email, david@bowls.tv. Twitter, I'm David Bowls. Facebook, Regular Old Bowls. Discord server, David Bowls. Instagram, Bowls Books. YouTube is Bowls Blues. And TikTok is Bowls TV as well. I hope you have a wonderful night and a great morning. Take care of yourself. Be well. Let me know what you're thinking. And I'll see you tomorrow.